Welcome back, everybody. It's me, Alice Blue, and we do have patch notes. So these are the patch notes for January 31st. What's new? This week brings a few UI updates, dynamic threat scaling, and a new Ember vein. Bug fixes and improvements. Tech. Defender threat roll bonus now applies to threat-only abilities, such as Provoke. You no longer stand up if hit by a dots tick. Environment and art. Fixed rendering issue with water in New Haven City on Mac. UI added lock buttons to the roll, blacksmith, and merchant windows. Coloring active defenses in the combat log green. Updating parry and block tooltips. Design. Increasing the base parry damage mitigation value. Normalized rare spawn rates for Red Shore Ridge. Increased riposte damage and threat. Added ashen quillbacks. Added a second reagent to quillbacks, raccoons, and ravens. Added threat modifiers to shields. New inhabitants appear to be leaking out onto the beach in Red Shore. Leaking? They're leaking. Okay, interesting. I wonder what that means. Rat nests now have 0 chevron rats. The heal stat now only impacts actual healing abilities. New stuff. Exit delay. A number of people have been taking advantage of our goodwill by exploiting the instant exit feature of our game to get around aggro. Because of this, a delay has been added to exit the game. Attempting to exit the game will force your character to sit for this delay, which can be cancelled by standing. There are a few exceptions to this rule. The delay timings are as follows. In the city, no delay. Add an Ember Ring and not in combat, no delay. Add an Ember Ring and in combat, 10-second delay. Not add an Ember Ring, combat or no combat, is a 20-second delay. You know, I do find that a little bit annoying, but I'm not surprised that it happened. Actually, I am surprised that it took them this long because, let me tell you, we've been exploiting that since alpha. Dice modifiers on crafted weapons. We've gone through a few balance iterations for the dice modifier to crafted weapons. This modifier is the ability to go from, say, a 1d4 plus 2 to a 1d4 plus 6 with certain crafting materials. Unfortunately, weapons at higher levels and of lower delays were close enough to one another in dice modifier that crafted weapons were far exceeding dropped items. This resulted in rare weapon finds feeling worthless and difficult to balance. For the time being, the crafted dice modifier bonus has been replaced with a haste bonus. We are actively working to raise up the level 30 to 50 weapon tier gaps to have more room for things like dice modifiers to return on imbued weapons at a future date. We felt that addressing the imbalance of these items was important enough to address on its own. Let me repeat that. For the time being, the crafted dice modifier bonus has been replaced with a haste bonus. We are actively working to raise up the level 30 to 50 weapon tier gaps to have more room for things like dice modifiers to return on imbued weapons at a future date. So, it may not be permanent. I am pretty disappointed this happened. I'm not surprised. We have had multiple big, drastic changes to crafting since it first became a thing in beta or alpha, whenever it was. I have a lot of things to say about crafting, but I'm not going to say it here. Ashen updates. Ashen creatures have gotten a slight update this patch. Previously, Ashens would scale down, like a 2 to a 1, for example, when spawned and have a blank aggro table. They will no longer scale down, but will instead spawn at half health. In addition to this change, all targets from their progenitor will be inherited with their threat reset. This means that the Ashen will now know all of its previous targets, but your position on the threat list will be reset. New Ember Drift. A new high-level 45 Ember Drift has been spotted in Redshore Ridge. Guess what, guys? You can get to 50 now. You can actually reach level cap. There you go. Threat scaling. New tech has been implemented that allows for a dynamic threat bonus on Provoke, Roar, and Fading Strike. The purpose of this tech is to allow the players to more effectively close the gap between themselves and another player on the threat list. For Provoke and Roar, this bonus only applies if you are not on the top of the NPC's threat list. The bonus threat value is proportional to the difference between the top threat and your threat. For Fading Strike, this works in the opposite direction. You get a negative threat bonus if you are at the top of the threat list. The negative threat bonus is proportional to the difference between your threat and the next highest person on the threat list. Works in progress. Dueling, 1 week. Have you ever wanted to duel someone in our game? Soon you can, although you will be dueling with dice, not weapons. More info to come next week. That's interesting. That's very vague. It could mean, it could still mean that we get to punch each other. Or it could mean some type of dice rolling mini game, which could be really cool. So, I don't know. I'm looking forward to that. Whatever it is, that would be cool. Every MMO needs a mini game, right? QA server, 1 to 2 weeks. Our new QA server is up and running internally. There are a few more kinks to work out, but we should be able to get this going within the next couple of weeks. I cannot wait for the QA server. That was, the QA server was one of the first things I brought up when they announced that they were going to launch the game. That was one of my immediate concerns was, are we going to launch with a QA server? And, yeah, so I am very much excited about the QA server. We need it desperately. We desperately need it. We have got to test this shit before it hits live and people start freaking out. Anyways, I digress. Quests. A number of new quests are currently in testing on QA and will be launched soon. TM. 1 to 3 weeks. So hopefully we get some quests. That'd be great. I did stumble upon a couple of new NPCs with some interesting dialogue, but no quest yet, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Based on what I saw with the new NPCs, that's gonna be some nice lore. Patch size ongoing. Improving the patch size is still being worked on, but given that this has zero gameplay implications, it has taken a back seat to other design and tech-related tasks. Let's see, is there anything new here? No, nothing new here. So that's it. That is the patch notes. Pretty short and simple. And to the point. Yeah, not, it may not seem like a lot, but these things take a lot of time. And while it might be only just a couple of sentences on the patch notes, that these things take weeks. So, anyways, thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in game.